Well, we got our next round of parts here ready to cast. So we got Ryu from Street Fighter, got a couple Highland cows and wax, a couple Statue of Liberties, actually more than a couple, we got 7. We got this cool Celtic god or something like that. It's got like a wolf and a cow. There's a snake over there. And that's the stand for this guy, Predator. So this Predator is completely solid. He's going to be cast solid. And I'm not sure how it's going to turn out. My hopes aren't very high for at least the chest piece. I hope it turns out pretty good with that substantial feeder right there. But in case that doesn't turn out, I have 2 hollow versions of the Predator as well. But I'm going to save that for another video, which will be pretty cool. I have a good investment on whatever video that's going to be, and it should make all the casts turn out really well. And I'm really excited to show you guys that one, so stay tuned. But these are all sprued up, waxed, smoothed over. All we have left to do is just put the clear coat on them, and then put the flasks on, and pour in our plaster. And then we can start burning it out in the kiln. So I got these avatar symbols online and I printed these off. And the idea for these is that I'm going to make these as a wedding gift for my cousin's soon-to-be new wife. Now I did do a test run and this is what I came up with. Looks pretty awesome. I love it. I love the way it turned out. So I did a patina in the background. I did a deep blood red epoxy for the inside of the flame. And then this is bronze. So then I just sanded the top lightly and gave it like a really nice gold color. And I think it contrasts everything very well. Now I got to go ahead and do all the other symbols. So there's 3 more. There's water, air, I think this one's water, yeah. Water, air, and earth. $12.80. $12.80. Looks like we're pretty much done with the burnout cycle. Now we need to start cooling these down a little bit. Alright, well we're just about ready to cast. The temperature in the kiln is looking pretty good. I've monitored it all today and I think I have a much better burnout schedule. So it combines getting a little bit hotter with running a little bit longer. And I've also made some improvements on my vacuum table here. I tightened down all these hose clamps, which were apparently loose. I got these silicone rubber gaskets on just a nice piece of flat silicone rubber, both high temperature. I also made my hole here bigger for pulling as much air as possible from the bottom of the flask. I wanted to make sure that the whole bottom of the flask was in contact with the vacuum. I got the crucible filled here. I got a whole bunch of tiny stuff on top to help melt pretty quickly, and then help melt the rest of the bigger chunks down at the bottom, which I basically just have one of these old sprues here. I got a lot of failed casts here that are getting remelted. It's one good thing about failing in metal casting is you can just remelt the metal. You lose out on the time and the investment plaster, which sucks, but at least you get to reuse something. Looks like I'm due for relining my furnace. It's starting to fall apart on the top. I got to be a little bit careful because on the side right here there's a little crack, but it only goes down about a third of the way, so as long as I can stay below that. I'm also going to try to pinch it together, because sometimes with these crucibles you can like squeeze it and it'll kind of like reseal itself. So I'm going to make sure I pick it up at that spot. That's not good. Lovely. Okay, it is the next day, which did not go very well, and it was pretty funny because after the first two casts I did, after the sand cast, I was telling myself, I was like, man, everything's going pretty smoothly, you know, knock on wood, and then everything went downhill. So, firstly, my crucible broke and leaked a lot of metal because it was filled almost to the top. Of course, it couldn't have been when I already poured one. And so it poured a bunch of metal inside my furnace, and luckily I was able to get all of the metal out, but I had to pretty severely damage the inside to get it out because it was very embedded inside. And also the top has already been kind of falling apart, so I think it's time we redo the whole furnace. Maybe not the sides or anything, but I do have to adjust the burner down there because it's getting pretty recessed from the increased thickness of the refractory. So that was the first problem. And then the second problem was these ducts that I've been using for my flasks, because finding these steel pipes wasn't exactly easy, which, by the way, I just pulled another one over here so I can cut some taller ones, because that was like the main reason why I even used this one, and the one I'm about to talk about was because I just needed a taller one. So this could have been avoided. But I've been using these steel ones, and one of them that I found was actually aluminum. That's what remains of the flask. So that wasn't very good, and I wish I had a steel bucket available because I would have just buried it in sand and tried casting it, but since I didn't, I had to put it on here and just hopefully cast it. But of course it had to be one of my big ones. And so as soon as I hit like 2/3 of the way full, it just split in half and metal shot into my sand here. But normally the old way I had this plate for the vacuum table was just a square rectangle, and I was able to actually fit flasks around this the perimeter. But since I added this huge platform here to kind of, since it's a lot thicker, to make it a lot flatter, to get a better vacuum seal, I can't fit the molds in here anymore.